Welcome to your brave new world. Bipartisan bill would create anti-Semitism monitors at colleges. And my response was just, what the ever-living is this? For real? A pro-Israel House Democrat and Republican plan to introduce legislation creating federally sanctioned anti-Semitism monitors for select college campuses. It's the first bill introduced in Congress as a direct response to the pro-Palestinian protests. All right, that's it. I'm done. We had mass rioting. We had firebombing of buildings. And now, the snap to attention you get over what's happening right now. I'm just going to tell you guys, the deep state screwed it up. The system is falling apart. Okay. The military industrial complex is on its last legs. This is so over the top, insane that you've got violations of the Civil Rights Act when it comes to gender identity stuff, women's rights, bathrooms, and then you've got the racist stuff. You've got schools in California creating white racial affinity groups for students. You have far leftists killing people, firebombing buildings. Trump didn't do nothing. Democrats didn't do nothing. And then you get Occupy 2.0, Israel Boogaloo, and they're trying to put anti-Semitism monitors in colleges.
I think it's an op. The left, and now they're going to go after free speech because then they can go ahead and say, oh look, we're trying to prevent anti-Semitism. We're going to go after free speech. They're after free speech anyways. They're going to use this as a.
The left doesn't have to go after it. The right is going after it.
Well, yeah,
they're doing it for. But the same people who have been crying about safe spaces and we're the champion of free speech for the last 10 years on college campuses, now they're ready to send in the National Guard. They watch the cities burn down. They watch the border get invaded. You can't get anyone to any of these places. There's been anti-white racism on all of these things for years. But now, all of a sudden...
Guys, I figured it out. Here's what we got to do. We got to go to Mexico.
No, I'm out.
No, hear me out. You're gonna be totally. Then when the migrant caravans are coming, what we have to do is give them T-shirts that say "Intifada, Intifada," and then when they come to the border, then they're gonna be like, "No, those people cannot come in."
I'm back on board.
Right. So how about we do this? We can go to like Juarez or like Mexicali, Calexico. Maybe we can go to where was the Tijuana, and we'll set up Occupy camps there and make sure all of the migrants coming in know how bad Israel is. And we'll make sure they know when you're coming in and the CBP agent is asking you questions, just tell them you don't like Israel. And then, of course, they'll all get turned around.
Yes, if this is how we're going to secure the southern border, you got to make lemonade out of lemons. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, let's put this to use. Let's
be real though. I mean, the response from government has been so insane. They've jumped the shark. This is shark jumping territory. Mike Johnson saying we're going to pull federal funding and send the National Guard if you don't stop speaking bad about Israel. It's like, holy crap! Are you guys kidding me? You've lost all credibility. I mean, we were looking at some of the Republicans being like, why can't they pull funding from these universities? Why can't they do these things? And the Republicans would be like, look, we're trying. We have a slim majority. It's not easy. And then this happens, and we're like, oh, you were full of it the whole time.
I mean, it's all about donations and who's got money. Like the whole reason that this is happening is because there's a lot of large donors for for like AIPAC and all the. It's all about who's throwing money at the Republicans and stuff. Because that's what makes DC run and
that's
stuff.
That's what makes the world run.
Well, one sec. I'm getting a phone call real quick. Just keep talking.
Well, and that's the best part between...
Oh, wait, there was... Sorry, Israel is great. They've done nothing wrong. They can only do good, and the U.S. should give them billions of dollars.
This is making the anti-Semites on Twitter insufferable. Not like they weren't annoying as hell before, but now they're just like, see, I told you, the dancing Israelis. Ah! And crazy people just screaming.
This is what I'm saying. They're losing all credibility. Yes, the TikTok ban is very obviously... This came about when this anti-Israel content popped up. Donors freaked out because many of these donors are pro-Israel, or many of them who do military contracting have business interests. Many people with religious interests, and and people in the United States military who have Middle Eastern conquest interests were like, okay, now we're going to crank it all the way up to 11. And now, yes, as you mentioned, the actual anti-Semites on Twitter are vomiting all over themselves, screaming. And I'm sitting here being like, well, Congress, the president, like everyone's lost all credibility on why they can't move on certain issues. Because when the donors snap their fingers, they will literally shut down universities and mass arrest people for hate speech. if they deem it so. And look, I just want to stress this. Anti-Semitism monitors, they have policies barring white people and Asian people from going to these schools.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that the Republicans are just throwing this away on top of everything because this is internecine warfare in the left. The coalition is pulling itself apart. You have the establishment that supports Israel. You have the vanguard that is very anti-colonialism, has all of this kind of Black Lives Matter, pro-Palestinian. The mainstream wants to follow the vanguard, but they can't because of the way power is set up. And so what you should be doing is just standing back and watching the left tear itself apart. But of course, the Republicans want to swing in and save them from their own self-destruction.
Let them riot on the school campuses. Let them burn the institutions to the ground, just like they did the cities. It's fine.
No, but
it's fine. Let them do it.
But it shows you what their real interests are.
Yeah.
The Republicans claimed they couldn't do anything about wokeness and DEI. We have a slim majority. Oh no, we're trying. What is it? When this bill came up in the Senate with the Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel funding and TikTok ban, Rand Paul didn't even vote on it. What was up with that? I mean, honest question. Why didn't he vote?
I don't know.
He didn't vote. I don't know. It's kind of, maybe it's
meaningless. I feel like he wouldn't vote either way because he doesn't want to anger anyone by voting against it, but he doesn't actually believe in it. So he doesn't want to vote yes. So you just vote, present or whatever. I
just feel like now the deep state is in absolute free fall. Look, when you operate the facade, when you have the masquerade of what we can and can't do, why we can and can't do it, people will play along, right? This, I'm going to say it again, a bipartisan bill to create anti-Semitism monitors at colleges is one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Greg Abbott saying hate speech will not be tolerated on campus is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Hate speech is counter to everything that the right has been complaining about for the past decade going on at schools and stuff. Like, speech codes have been the bane of the right's existence. It's been getting the right kicked off. I'm sorry for talking over and stuff, but it's like it blows my mind that this is not obvious.
Well, it's because no one actually believes in free speech. Like that's the hard truth here that everyone's got to swallow. It's like everyone is using it for political advantage. When you're out of power, you call for free speech. When you're in power, you pull the ladder up behind you. That's what the left did. That's what the right's doing. It's a universal thing.
To be fair, the Democrats and Republicans are united on do not criticize Israel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the crazy thing is the conversations we've been having over the past couple of weeks are not even about Israel or Israel's actions or Palestine or what is or is not justified in military and war and conflict. It's about the reaction of U.S. media corporations, schools, and governance going absolutely insane. Look, I'll put it this way. If you want to make people believe that you care about free speech, if you want people to believe you are allowed to criticize the military actions of Israel and that stuff, this is the opposite of what you do. Coming out with, like, we're going to send in the National Guard, we're going to pull funding, we're going to arrest all of you, and then we're going to put monitors in your schools. The Republicans on this one, Mike Johnson included, are basically saying we've been on board with communism the whole time, and of course you can't criticize Israel. So they've lost all credibility. Now it's like, it's patently clear. It's like, oh, wow, it really is just about Israel. If they came out and said something like, look, free speech is totally allowed. Actually, Florida did something like this. They said, you're allowed to speak, you're allowed to protest, you're allowed to gather, no tents, no seizing of public property, all these things. And I'm like, right, okay, that I agree with. If they came out and said, we have no problem with people criticizing Israel. The problem we have is there's a guy over there saying he's Hamas. The problem is people are donating, saying they're giving money to Hamas. That is why we are going to take action against this. Instead, they're like, they're anti-Semitic. So we're going to shut the whole thing down. It's like, okay, well, hold on there, man. You're either not articulating this properly or you never actually cared about the speech in the first place. You're just mad they're criticizing your foreign policy.
And I tend to think it's the latter, right? Like, it is ultimately about their political interests. It's not about upholding the values of the country or about upholding the tenets of free speech, in my opinion.
It would also be really nice if we didn't have to deal with this, right? Like, this is not our problem. It's our immigration policies and our obsession with involving ourselves in every foreign conflict and the reliance on the defense industry is the reason that this is happening. It would be really great if America could focus on its own problems and its own issues, and we didn't have to import every blood feud from across the world, but it looks like we have to because that's the way we've structured our policies.
Not even. I tweeted this. I care as much about Palestine as I do about Burma.
Yeah.
I just the obsession with it is what blows my mind, and that's the crazy thing, because saying something like that, I'm called a Zionist.
I just wish all of the young people rallying were actually rallying for, I don't know, a border wall, or, the end of the issuing of federally backed student loans, right? Like things that really affect their future and their lives and their nation's economy. But instead, for whatever reason, probably because they all know the buzzwords surrounding it, you're totally right, being taught colonists bad has made it so a generation of young students are like, oh, I know where I'm supposed to line up on this issue. So rather than using critical thinking, they're just like, well, this is what everyone's talking about, so I'm going to do it. Like, it bothers me so much that they don't care about the domestic policy, but they are willing to do, crazy things for an international war that affects very few of them ultimately.
I'm of two minds on this. The first is, certainly the deep state, the intelligence agencies, can't be so inept that they would enact plans such as these, which result in people shifting away from supporting Israel and genuinely believing that free speech is not being tolerated and they're violating people's rights. They can't be that stupid, can they? Unless they're actually really, really smart in the deep state and they hate Israel themselves.
It's the wokeness getting away. It's the vanguard pulling the mainstream away from its controlled ideology. I think that the Kool-Aid that they've been selling, they've been drinking for too long. Their activists are now deeply involved in it, and they're demanding that the more controlled mainstream go along with them. And to be fair, I think the mainstream would rather if they could, but they can't.
But do you mean like intelligence agents? Like, are there woke intelligence agents? They hate Donald Trump. They're super woke, and they hate Israel too. And things like this are meant to further subvert support for Israel.
I think the ideology is leading them. I think the political formula involved in creating wokeness draws them that direction. Even if they don't personally buy into it 100%, they want to move that way because that's where the political energy is. That's where the spirit is. That's where the young people
the intelligence agents?
I think some of the intelligence agents would be. Not all of them. I don't think the entirety of the CIA is probably bought into lock, stock, and barrel.
I put it like this, right? We know what false flags are, and we know why they are effective. Because you make a villain that you can fight against. We had Ian brought up this AI translated Hitler speech. Joe Rogan had been talking about it, and so he played some of it. And the fascinating thing was how what's the right word? Dejected his speaking actually was, complaining about European authority, but then all of a sudden just saying, "And the Jews!" Like
it was very whiny.
It sounded to me like what he was doing was, we have a general grievance on economics due to World War I and these treaties, but I can't rally anybody right now. We need a scapegoat, so we're going to blame this group of people because it's easy and they can't fight back. And then once everyone's rallied together, then I can start invading other countries for other reasons. And so going back to my point about like false flags, we know why it works. You create an enemy, you can rally everybody to go fight that enemy. This is like the inversion of that. And I'm like, is the deep state really that stupid now? Where they're like, hey, I got an idea. Let's propose the stupidest things in the world that make people believe that like there is no free speech. You're not allowed to criticize our foreign policy, and we are the bad guys actually, and the U.S. is bad. This kind of thing right there is going to actually bring like anti-Semitic identitarian types aligning and protesting with communists, which, like, I guess has happened in some capacity. But now these protests are going to attract literally anything. Here's what you're going to see. There's going to be genuine anti-Semitic individuals, and they're not going to say anything about anti-Semitism. They're going to be like, wow, okay, I'm not going to tell them what I really think, but I'll go down there and support them because I hate Israel too for different reasons. And you're going to create a united front of weird political backgrounds, all just hating Israel by doing things like this.
The only fault that I see in your theory is that the right that hates Israel and the Jews, they cannot stop talking about it. There is no subversion at all. They're going to tell you over and over and over. They're going to tell you at length, and they're going to tell you to watch this video, and they're going to keep telling you.
And then you get those people uniting with like Farrakhan and the Women's March organizers who all believe these things. And then all this does is actually damage support for Israel. So I'm like, then are they doing it on purpose? Like, is the deep state being like, guys, we're totally done with this operation, and now we need to generate public support against Israel?
There's a lot of rumors that they hate Netanyahu, right? And the purpose is to leverage him out. And
Nancy Pelosi just called for this, right?
Yeah, right. And so I think that is a consensus among many people is that's the actual purpose.
But that's something that is a U.S. policy like that they're interested in. It's not like whatever the name, I forget the guy that would replace Netanyahu, the opposition leader. Anyways, it's not like he has a significant different policy. If I understand correctly, most of Israel they're kind of all on the same page. They're like, yo, this is,
a uniting issue for them.
we're going to stomp the shit out of Gaza is basically what their policy is all over Israel. Like and I understand why they would feel like that. That's what the U.S. was like after 9/11, like, so I get it, but I don't think that this does anything for the actual situation. It's only about what the U.S. would like to see come out of it and what the U.S. wants, as in getting rid of Netanyahu. It's not like getting rid of Netanyahu would change the policy for Gaza, So it's not like when people are protesting Israel, if they think, oh, we're going to get rid of Netanyahu and there's going to be a change, there's not going to be a change is the point that I'm making. Like, there will be no change on the policy is going to be the policy. And kids in the U.S. protesting, they can burn every single university down in America, and Israel's going to say, we don't care what you guys say. We're still going to do what we're going to do in Gaza, because that's geopolitical government stuff.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.